Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about a new topic in banking and insurance law. So today's topic is history of banking in India. We will be talking about from where the banking has been started in India and how come this business has grown up till now. So list of topics to be covered here are first is pre-independence phase, which is between 1786 to 1947. Then we'll be discussing about post-independence phase, which is from 1947 to till date. Then comes pre-nationalization period, 1947 to 1969. Then comes after post-nationalization period. The period of post-nationalization is 1969 to 1991, and after 1991 the liberalization period has started, and that is discussed up till date. The history of banking system in India. The banking system in India can be categorized in two phases. First is pre-independence phase, which is between 1786 to 1947. Then comes post-independence phase, 1947 to till date. The post-independence phase may further be divided into three phases, that is pre-nationalization period, which is between 1947 to 1969. Then comes post-nationalization period, which is between 1969 to 1991. And then the last period was liberalization period. It has started in 1991 and it was counted up till date. Let's start with pre-independence phase, 1786 to 1947. The evolution of modern banking in India commenced with the advent of British East India Company. One of the earliest instances that can be traced for evolution of banking system in India was the establishment of Bank of Calcutta in 1806. Thereafter, Bank of Bombay was started in 1840, and subsequently the Bank of Madras in 1843 was established. Later, the Presidency Banks Act 1876 was enacted to enable the government to regulate the functioning and operation of banks. Here, the evolution of modern banking in India has started with the British East India Company, and in India, the banking system was evolved with the establishment of three banks, that is, Bank of Calcutta in 1806. Then, thereafter, the Bank of Bombay has started and it was created in 1840. After that, Bank of Madras was created in 1843. And all these three banks were known to be as Presidency banks in India. They have started functioning and operating in India and enable the government to regulate these banks. In 1921, the Imperial Bank was established, which merged three Presidency banks of Calcutta, Bombay, and Madras by passing of the Imperial Bank of India Act. The State Bank of India was passed in 1955, which led to the repeal of Imperial Bank and its assets vested in SBI. So what they have done is in 1921 they have created a new bank, which is Imperial Bank. And how they come up with this particular bank is by merging all the Presidency banks, that is Bank of Calcutta, Bank of Bombay, and Bank of Madras together. They have merged them together and they have created a new bank which was known to be Imperial Bank of India. And subsequently, a Imperial Bank of India Act was also passed to govern that particular bank. Now, what happened in 1955? they have repealed the Imperial Bank of India Act and passed a new State Bank of India Act. And this particular State Bank of India Act created a new bank which is known to be State Bank of India, and all the assets and all the work which was to be done under the Imperial Bank, that comes and vested in the State Bank of India. The first Indian owned Allahabad Bank was set up in 1865 in Allahabad. Then, in 1895, the Punjab Bank was established. The Bank of India, founded in 1906 in Mumbai. Many more commercial banks such as Canara Bank, Indian Bank, Central Bank of India, Bank of Baroda, and Bank of Mysore was established between 1906 and 1913 under Indian ownership. So, if we talk about the first bank which was owned by the first Indian, it was done in 1865 in Allahabad, and the particular bank was named as Allahabad Bank. Then in 1895, they have another bank was established by an Indian, that particular bank was known as Punjab National Bank. Later on, many other banks were founded, and if we go on with the list, then comes the Bank of India, which was established in Mumbai. Now, many more commercial banks such as Canara Bank, Indian Bank, etc., were established between 1906 to 1913. And all these banks were established under Indian ownership. The Reserve Bank of India Act 1935 was passed, which led to the formation of Reserve Bank of India, also known as the Central Bank, on the recommendation of Hilton-Yonde Commission. RBI was given the power to acquire right to issue notes and acted as government to the bank. At that time, the banking system was only covered the urban population, and need of rural and agriculture sector was totally neglected. Now, the very famous Reserve Bank of India Act was passed in 1935, and under this act we have formulated a bank which is known to be as Reserve Bank of India, and it has become the central bank of and it has become the Central Bank of India. And the recommendation to establish such particular bank was given by the Hilton Loan Commission. Now, RBI was given the power to issue notes, that is the bank currency. So, in India, the only bank which has the power to issue notes is the Reserve Bank of India, and it also acted as the bank of other banks and also the bank of the government. Now, it was also said that at that particular time, the banking system was focusing upon the urban population, and it was totally neglected by the authorities that banking could be a need in rural and agriculture sectors also. So, it was totally neglected by the authorities. Post-independence phase 1947 to till date. At the time of independence, the entire banking sector was under private ownership. The rural population of the country had to depend on small money lenders for their requirements. To solve these issues and for better development of the economy, the Government of India nationalized the Reserve Bank of India in 1949. The Banking Regulation Act was also enacted in 1949. As I have told earlier that rural sector and the agriculture sector was completely neglected by the authorities. So to overcome that problem, Government of India has come up with a plan to nationalize the banks. Now, Reserve Bank of India in 1949 was nationalized. That means it was taken up by the government and declared as the Bank of the Nation. And in the same year, 1949, the Banking Regulation Act was also passed. Nationalization period 1969 to 1991. One of the most crucial evolutions which led to the foundation of current banking system in India was the nationalization of banks in 1969. In 1969, Government of India nationalized 14 major banks whose national deposits were more than 50 crores. Subsequently, in 1980, six more private banks were nationalized. In 1969, the Government of India took a decision, and the decision was to nationalize more banks other than the Reserve Bank of India. So what they did is they nationalized 14 major banks of the India, and the total national deposit by then was 50 crores. And in 1980, six more banks which were private by then were nationalized and declared as the Bank of India. The Supreme Court, in the case of All India Bank Officers Confederation versus Union of India, remarked that the object of Banking Companies Acquisition and Transfer of Undertakings Act was to nationalize the banks and to render the largest good to the largest number of people. When many cases were filed before Supreme Court, the Supreme Court has remarked that the main object of different acts by then was to nationalize the bank so that they could render largest good to the largest number of people of India. The object of Section 9 of the Act, which is regarding central government's power to make a scheme for constitution of board of director, is to give the board a truly representative character so as to reflect the genuine interest of the various persons manning or dealing with the bank as an industry and a commercial enterprise. Here the Section 9 of the Act deals with the power to make a scheme for the constitution of board of directors. Yes, this particular scheme to create a board of directors was introduced in the banking system so that our true representative character was to be reflected by the board of directors. Some of the benefits of nationalization of banks were spreading of branch network of banks throughout the nation, wide deployment of credit across the country, increased mobilization of resources. These are the main objectives of the nationalization of banks. The government's idea to nationalize banks is for the particular these basic objectives, which is to open as much as possible branches in the throughout the nation, and so that every area could get the credit, and this would also help in the increased mobilization of resources. The Indian banking system immensely developed after nationalization, but the rural and weaker section of the society was still not covered under the system. It improved efficiency in the banking system. Sectors such as agriculture, small and medium scale industries started getting funds, which led to the economic growth. After nationalization, when the banking system started to grow throughout the country, it definitely improved the banking system by reaching to the agriculture sectors and small and medium scale industries so that people could get their funds and they can contribute in the economic growth of the country. To solve these issues, the Regional Rural Banks Act was passed. On 2nd October 1975, RRBs were established with an objective to extend the amount of credit to the rural section of the society. It had increased the access of bank branches in rural areas to cover all the agriculture and village areas, small towns areas. The government come up with a plan to pass a Regional Rural Banks Act, and under these particular act, regional rural banks were established in many other branches of India where the establishment of bank was required and the amount of credit was required. Liberalization phase 1990 to till date. This period saw remarkable growth in the process of development of banks with the liberalization of economic policies. In order to improve financial stability and profitability of public sector banks, the Government of India set up a committee in August 1991 under the chairmanship of Shri M. Narasimha, who was the former RBI governor. The committee recommended several measures to reform banking system in the country. In 1991, a liberalization phase has started and it helped in the development of the banks in all over the India because various economic policies were formulated and many improved measures were adopted. And in 1991, a committee was established which was headed by Shri M. Narasimha, who was by then the former RBI governor, and this particular committee recommended many useful measures to reform the banking system in the country, and it has brought a certain remarkable change in the growth of the banking system in India. The recommendations which were introduced by that particular committee was the major thrust of the recommendations was to make banks competitive and strong and conducive to the stability of financial system. The committee suggested for no more nationalization of banks. Foreign banks would be allowed to open offices in India either as branches or as subsidiaries. Recommendations of that committee include a very good suggestion which was no more nationalization of banks. That means only those 14 banks were nationalized throughout the time, and no other bank was uh, declared as nationalization under this particular process. And it has opened a new way for foreign banks to come India so that the business and the economic growth could achieve by the bankers, and they were allowed to open either branches or subsidiaries in India. In order to make more competitive, the committee suggested that the public sector banks and private sector banks should be treated equally by the government and RBI. It was emphasized that banks should be encouraged to abandon the conservative and traditional system of banking and adopt progressive functions such as merchant banking, underwriting, retail banking, etc. Now, various changes were happening in the banking industry, and the government and the RBI both were ready to adopt different measures to improve the banking system in India. The committee has suggested that there should be public sector banks and private sector banks, and both type of banks should be treated equally so that they both could contribute in the growth of the economy of India. They all were suggested that they should encourage the new banking system which involved different type of banking. They were asked to improve their business, and they were asked to provide much more relevant services to the customers. Now, foreign banks and Indian banks permitted to set up joint ventures in these and other newer forms of financial services. 10 private players got a license from the RBI to entry in the banking sector. These were Global Trust Bank, ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank, Axis Bank, Bank of Punjab, IndusInd Bank, Centurion Bank, IDBI Bank, Times Bank, and Development Credit Bank. The government of India accepted all the major recommendations of the committee. As we can see that to develop the banking system in India, government was opening itself and it was inviting private players in, and RBI was permitting license to the private players so that the banking sector could grow. New foreign banks and Indian banks were permitted to set up a joint venture so that new types of financial services could be provided to the customers. Overall, Government of India accepted all the major recommendations of the Narasimha Committee.